this kind of stuff. Okay, I got another one from Tony. Let me see. He says, I was surprised that some commercial entities are now adopting NIST. Me too. I'm blown away. In the past, they frowned upon it. Oh, I didn't know that. And they used to think that it had too many controls. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, they did say that. As a matter of fact, I remember, Tony, I was in something called DITSCAP, DoD Information Technology Certification and Accreditation Program. And that was back in the 90s. And then we transitioned to something called DIACAP, and it had way less controls. It had like maybe, I don't know, 40 controls or 50 something. It wasn't a lot. It's been a while. But DIACAP, yeah, it wasn't as robust as NIST. And then like they start talking about adopting the NIST stuff, and we were shook, man. We were like, what? NIST has 1,000 controls. That we're like, that's not going to work. There's no way we can make that work. But as I started to understand more about it, I start to realize you tailor the controls. You don't add controls that you don't need. And what I mean to say is, like, let's say you have an organization, and the organization they have servers, they have cloud technology, but they don't have wireless, right? So with the NIST, you still do a lot of the controls, but what you wouldn't do is you wouldn't do the wire. There's a couple controls that refer to wireless. You wouldn't do those controls, obviously. And then there's a control that refers to remote logins. If you don't have remote logins in your organization, that's a NA. It's not applicable. If you had no users for whatever reason, you have a system that has absolutely no users and no system user accounts and at all, then you wouldn't need a lot of the AC controls. You wouldn't need IA controls. You wouldn't need a lot of those. So you tailor NIST to your system. Basically, it gives you all the tools you need to protect your organization. But that doesn't mean like if you don't need a saw to do the work, you use a hammer and nails, whatever you need to do that work. But if you don't need all the tools in your toolbox, you won't use all those tools. You're tailoring that whatever controls you need to do the work for your organization. And in my mind, that's the cool thing about it, because it's not telling you you're not having to use everything. Before I thought that, okay, is 1,000 controls not going to work because you can't put all 1,000 controls in there, but no, that's not what you do. So it's been nice to use. Actually, it's actually easier, in my opinion. It's easier, it's more precise, and it's more effective. Easier because in DIACAP and some of the other old DoD controls, it didn't do a good job of protecting the system because we'd get a new technology in, and DIACAP couldn't address that. So you were just doing a policy, a procedure, but you wouldn't have anything to address, like, say, cloud technology or something. Anyway, DIACAP really didn't have an answer for that when it first started coming out. And any kind of new technologies was harder to keep